Have you ever had to choose between paying the rent or buying food for your child? I had to make that choice last Tuesday, and I chose the food. That's why I'm here now at 11:30 at night, in a snowstorm in Calgary, carrying my 2-year-old son in my arms as I walk to the small shed behind the apartment I just lost. My name is Sarah Chen, I'm 29 years old, and I officially became homeless exactly 4 hours ago. The biting wind of the Canadian winter pierces my thin coat like needles of ice. Noah is asleep against my chest, completely unaware that our life has just crumbled. His rosy cheeks contrast with the pallor I know is on my face. Not because of the cold, but because of fear. "Mommy will fix this, my love," I whisper against his dark hair, trying to convince myself as much as him. The shed is small, barely big enough for one person to lie down, but it has a roof and 4 walls. It will be our home for tonight. Maybe for several nights until I can scrape together enough money for a deposit on somewhere else. I'm trying to open the rusted door with one hand, holding Noah with the other, when I hear footsteps in the snow behind me. "Sorry, are you okay?" I spin around quickly, instinctively protecting my child. A man is approaching, and in the dark, I can only make out his tall silhouette. My heart races. I'm vulnerable, alone with a child. I'm fine. I lie, my voice trembling, betraying my fear. He stops at a respectful distance, and when the street lamp partially illuminates his face, I see kind features, a scruffy beard, clothes that have seen better days. Maybe around 35, with eyes that seem genuinely concerned. "Look, I don't want to bother you, but are you going to sleep here?" His voice is soft, with a slight accent I can't place. "With this storm, and with the baby, it's none of your business," I reply more harshly than I intend. Exhaustion and desperation make me sound hostile. He raises his hands in a peaceful gesture. "You're right. Sorry. It's just, I work at the restaurant down the street, Murphy's Pub. I just finished my shift and saw you. It seems dangerous." Murphy's Pub. I know it well. It's where I work 3 nights a week as a waitress after my 12-hour shifts at the hospital as a nurse. This man must be the new waiter who started last week. I've been so exhausted these past few days that I barely notice my coworkers. You work at Murphy's?" I ask, relaxing slightly. "Yeah. Marcus." He introduces himself, taking a step closer. "You're Sarah, right? The nurse? I've seen you a few times, but you always came late or left early." I nod, still cautious, but something in his voice reassures me. Noah stirs in my arms, and I feel his clothes getting wet with the melting snow. "Look, I know this is weird," Marcus continues, running his hand through his damp hair, "but I have a small apartment 2 blocks from here. It's basic, but it's warm and safe. You and your son can stay on the couch tonight. Or until you get sorted." Every fiber of my being tells me to refuse. I don't know this man. But when I look at the freezing shed and then at my son's flushed face, all my defenses dissolve. "Why would you do that?" I ask, searching for signs of hidden intentions. Marcus shrugs, as if offering shelter to strangers were the most natural thing in the world. "Because everyone deserves a safe roof, especially a child. And because..." He hesitates, because I recognize the look of someone struggling to survive. There's something in the way he says this, a raw vulnerability that echoes my own situation. Like he knows exactly what it's like to be scared, desperate, at the breaking point. "I can't pay anything right now," I admit, my voice almost a whisper. "I'm not asking for money," he replies simply. The snow is falling harder now, and Noah starts squirming restlessly. I close my eyes for a moment, weighing my choice. Trust a stranger or try to survive a snowstorm with my 2-year-old in a shed without heat. "Okay," I finally say. "But if you try anything..." "I understand," he gently interrupts. "You're protecting your son. I'd respect you less if you weren't suspicious." As we walk through the deserted streets of Calgary, Noah finally awake and looking curiously at Marcus, I can't help but feel that tonight will change everything. I don't know if it will be for better or worse, but it will definitely change. What I didn't know was that the man walking beside me, offering kindness when I needed it most, held a secret that would completely transform my understanding of trust, love, and what it really means to know someone. Marcus' apartment is exactly as he described. Basic, but warm and clean. A small studio on the third floor of an old building, with a tiny kitchen, a sofa that has seen better days, and a single bed carefully made in the corner. But what catches my attention isn't the simple furniture. It's how everything is organized with a care that suggests someone who values what they have. The bathroom is over there, Marcus points, taking off his wet coat. There are clean towels in the cabinet. And he hesitates. I know it might seem strange, but I have some clothes that a friend left here. Maybe they'll fit you if you want to change. I look at my snow-drenched clothes and feel Noah shivering slightly in my arms. The offer is tempting, but I'm still cautious. Won't your friend mind? I ask, studying his face. Ex-girlfriend, he clarifies without embarrassment. We broke up months ago on good terms. She always left things here. I've got a box of her clothes that I never managed to return. There's a casual honesty in the way he talks about it that disarms me a little. No drama, no signs of complicated relationships. All right, I accept finally. Thank you. As I head to the bathroom with Noah, I watch Marcus discreetly. He's in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove, and I hear the comforting sound of boiling water. When I return, wearing a surprisingly comfortable Canadian wool sweater and pants that almost fit perfectly, I find the small table set for 3. I made hot chocolate, he announces, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. And I've got maple cookies, typical here from Alberta. I thought Noah might like them. My heart tightens. It's been months since anyone cared enough to make something warm for us. At the hospital, I barely have time for a quick coffee between patients. At the pub, I survive on rushed sandwiches. You didn't have to. I begin, but he interrupts with a gentle gesture. Of course I did. You're soaked and cold. Noah, now fully awake and curious, stretches his little hands toward the cookies. Marcus smiles, and it's a genuine smile, one that lights up his dark eyes in a way that makes me forget for a moment all the reasons I should keep my distance. Can he eat? Marcus asks, looking at me for approval before offering anything to my son. This small consideration, asking permission before interacting with Noah, hits me more deeply than it should. How many men just assume they can approach a child without consulting the mother first? He can, I answer, sitting at the table. As Noah happily chews his cookie, dipping his fingers into the warm chocolate, I watch Marcus. He's not trying to impress or score points. He's just being. His hands are calloused, hands of someone who works hard, but his movements as he serves the chocolate are gentle, careful. How long have you worked at Murphy's? I ask, trying to learn more about this man who opened his home to us. A few weeks, he replies, avoiding my gaze. I moved to Calgary recently. Still adjusting. Where did you come from? Interior of British Columbia, he says quickly, changing the subject. What about you? Have you always lived here? There's something in the way he avoids talking about his past that sparks my curiosity, but I'm too tired to press. Instead, I tell him about myself, how I came to Calgary after nursing school, how Noah's father disappeared when he found out about the pregnancy, how I've been struggling to balance 2 jobs and raise my son alone. That must be exhausting, Marcus comments, and there's genuine understanding in his voice. It is, I admit, surprising myself with my own honesty. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning. Today I couldn't pay the rent because Noah got sick last week and I missed 2 shifts at the hospital to take care of him. And the landlord. My voice falters. He kicked you out for being a few days late? Marcus' indignation is palpable. He said single mothers are problematic. I tell him, feeling the familiar sting of humiliation, that they always have excuses. Marcus clenches his fists on the table, and for a moment, I see something fierce cross his face. That's illegal. Discrimination based on family status. You could. Could what? I interrupt with a bitter laugh. Hire a lawyer with what money? Fight him in court while my son sleeps in shelters. He falls silent for a moment, clearly struggling with something internally. When he speaks again, his voice is controlled, but I can feel the underlying anger. You shouldn't have to choose between justice and survival. The way he says this, as if speaking from his own experience with systemic injustices, makes me look at him with new eyes. Maybe this man understands more about struggle than I imagined. Noah begins to get sleepy again, leaning against me. Marcus quietly gets up and comes back with a clean blanket and a pillow. The sofa opens into a bed, he explains. You'll be comfortable. And you? I've got a sleeping bag. I can sleep on the floor. He sees my protesting expression and quickly adds, I've camped a lot. It doesn't bother me. As he prepares our room, I watch his efficient movements, how he folds the extra blanket to make a barrier so Noah can't roll off the bed. Small details that show he's thought of everything. Why are you doing this? I ask when he's done. Marcus stops, looks directly at me for the first time since we arrived. Because when I was a kid, my mom and I slept in some cars during a harsh winter. And I always swore that if I could prevent another child from going through that. He doesn't finish the sentence, but he doesn't need to. I understand. Thank you, I say simply, but I put my whole heart into the word. He nods, already heading to fetch his sleeping bag. Good night, Sarah. Good night, Noah. As I settle on the sofa with my son peacefully sleeping beside me, I hear Marcus settling on the floor on the other side of the room. The last thing I see before falling asleep is his eyes shining in the dark, as if he's making sure we're safe. For the first time in months, I sleep soundly. And for the first time in years, I feel like maybe, just maybe, I'm not completely alone in this world. What I didn't know yet was that the man sleeping on the floor so that my son and I could have a comfortable bed had the power to change our situation with just one word. But that discovery was still to come. A week passes faster than I expected. What started as an emergency night has turned into something I don't quite know how to name, but I don't want it to end. Marcus insists there's no rush for me to find another place, and honestly, I can't imagine Noah and I going back to searching for apartments we can't afford. Here, for the first time in months, we have stability. Here, Noah laughs every morning when Marcus makes funny faces while preparing oatmeal with maple syrup. Are you sure this isn't too much trouble? I ask for the 5th time this week as I hurry to leave for my morning shift at the hospital. Sarah, Marcus interrupts, adjusting Noah's little backpack on his shoulders. We've talked about this. I work at night, I'm free during the day. It makes sense for me to take care of him while you work. It does make sense, yes, but it still amazes me how all of this happened so naturally. How this man, who I met only a week ago, has become so essential to our daily routine. How Noah, who is normally shy with strangers, ran into Marcus' arms this morning when he woke up. The daycare is 2 blocks away, I explain for the 10th time, even though I know Marcus has already memorized all the instructions. And if something happens, I'll call you immediately, he finishes, with that patient smile that already gives me butterflies in my stomach. Go on, or you'll be late. During my shift at Calgary General Hospital, I find myself thinking about them more than I should. Is Noah okay? Can Marcus handle a 2-year-old's tantrum? Am I being too irresponsible, trusting my child to someone I barely know? But when I get home at 3 p.m., I find Noah peacefully asleep on the sofa and Marcus at the kitchen table, typing on a laptop I hadn't seen before. How was it? I ask quietly, taking off my shoes. Perfect, Marcus whispers back, quickly closing the laptop. We went to the park, he ate all his lunch, and he just fell asleep watching a Canadian cartoon about beavers. There's something in the way he closes the laptop that piques my curiosity. It was an expensive model, definitely not something a newly hired waiter would normally have. But before I can comment, he has already put the device away and is getting up to greet me. You look tired, he observes, and there's genuine concern in his eyes. Tough day. We lost a patient, I admit, feeling the familiar weight of the sadness that always accompanies these days. A 67-year-old man. Heart attack. His family. Marcus approaches and, without saying anything, pulls me into a gentle hug. It's not romantic or intrusive. It's simply comforting. And for a moment, I let myself relax against his chest, feeling the warmth of his hands on my back. You save lives every day, he murmurs into my hair. You can't save them all, but that doesn't diminish the value of what you do. The way he speaks, as if he deeply understands the weight of public responsibility, makes me look at him curiously when we pull away. But again, before I can question, he's already changed the subject. I cooked, he announces. Salmon with vegetables. I thought you'd need a nutritious meal after a long day. Salmon. In a waiter's apartment. Salmon isn't cheap in Canada, especially not the cut I see waiting in the kitchen. Clearly fresh, high quality. Marcus, I say slowly, where did you get the money to buy salmon? He freezes for a second before smiling, but I notice the hesitation. Oh, I got a really good tip last night. A couple of American tourists, very generous. It's plausible, but something about the way he avoids my gaze unsettles me. During dinner, I observe more closely. The way he cuts the salmon is precise, almost professional. He knows the names of several Canadian wine varieties when I casually mention that a colleague brought a bottle to the hospital. And when Noah knocks over his milk glass, Marcus cleans the mess with an efficiency that suggests someone very used to handling unexpected situations. Have you worked at fancy restaurants before? I ask casually. A bit of everything, he replies vaguely. You know how it is, you do what you need to survive. It's an answer that doesn't answer anything, and we both know it. Later, when I leave for my shift at Murphy's Pub, I notice that Marcus isn't coming with me. Aren't you working today? I ask. Day off, he explains. I'll stay with Noah. At the pub, I look for Sean, the manager, during a break. Sean, about Marcus, the new waiter. Is he off today? Sean looks at me confused. Marcus? Sarah, we don't have any Marcus working here. My blood runs cold. What? But he said he started a few weeks ago. Dude, only have you, Tommy, and Janet at night. No new guy. Sean furrows his brow. Why? Did something happen? I lie about confusion and finish my shift on autopilot, my mind racing. Who is Marcus really? Why did he lie about working at the pub? And more importantly, is my son safe with him? When I get home at 2 a.m., I find the door unlocked and a note on the table. Went out to buy milk for Noah. Back in 10 minutes. But it's 2 a.m. What store is open? And why didn't he wait for me to come home before leaving? I quickly check on Noah, asleep soundly in our improvised bed. Safe, untouched. But my heart is racing with questions I can't answer. When Marcus returns 15 minutes later, carrying a bag from the 24-hour pharmacy, our eyes meet and I know he realizes something has changed. Sarah? Is everything okay? Who are you really? I ask directly, crossing my arms. For a moment, I see what might be panic cross his face. Then he sighs deeply and sits down at the table, gesturing for me to do the same. I can explain, he says quietly. But you need to trust me when I say I would never do anything to hurt you or Noah. This isn't an answer. I know. He runs his hands through his hair, clearly struggling with something internally. Sarah, there are things about me that are complicated. But my feelings for you and Noah are real. Completely real. The word feelings hangs in the air between us, loaded with promises and dangers neither of us is ready to navigate. You lied to me about your job, I insist. I lied, he admits. And I hate that I did. But Sarah, if I told you the truth about who I am, you'd never give me a chance. And I needed you to know me as a person first. There's a raw vulnerability in his voice that makes my anger waver. But the distrust remains. Give me a reason to trust you. Marcus looks me in the eyes, and I see an intensity that makes my heart race for reasons completely different from fear. Because in 1 week, you and Noah have become the most important thing in my life. And I would do anything to protect you. It's not an answer about his identity, but it's an answer about his feelings. And for now, while my son sleeps safely just a few feet away, maybe that's enough. But I know I can't avoid the truth forever. And part of me is afraid of what I'll find when I finally face it. 3 weeks after our conversation about trust, our routine has transformed into something that feels dangerously close to a real family. Marcus still sleeps on the floor every night, respecting my boundaries, but during the day, it's impossible to deny that something deep is growing between us. This morning, I wake up to the smell of pancakes and coffee and find Marcus and Noah in the kitchen. My son is sitting on the counter, something I would never allow, but with Marcus, it feels safe, helping flip pancakes with a small wooden spoon. Mama, Noah shouts when he sees me, proudly pointing to the mess in the bowl. I'm made. He's a natural chef, Marcus smiles, and when our eyes meet, I feel that familiar warmth in my stomach. It's in this intimate, domestic moment that my phone rings. The name on the screen makes me freeze. Gerald Morrison, owner. Hello. I answer, feeling Marcus immediately tense beside me. Ms. Chen, Gerald's familiar and unpleasant voice echoes through the phone. You need to come get your things today. I'm renting the apartment to someone else. What things? I ask, confused. You said I could keep everything when you evicted me. I changed my mind. And another thing, I reconsidered our situation. If you still want the apartment, we can make a deal. The way he says deal makes me feel nauseous. I know that tone. What kind of deal? I ask, though I already know I won't like the answer. Well, you're an attractive woman, Sarah. Single. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that benefits both of us, if you know what I mean. The phone almost slips from my hand. Beside me, Marcus moves closer, clearly noticing the disgust on my face. No, I say firmly. Absolutely not. Then your things are going in the trash, Gerald responds casually. You have until 6 p.m. The call ends, and I stand there, trembling with rage and humiliation. Marcus gently takes the phone from my hand. What did he say? When I tell him, Marcus stands completely still. His fists slowly clench, and for a moment, I see such intense anger in his eyes that it almost scares me. This son of a... He starts, then looks at Noah and controls his language. Sarah, this is sexual harassment and blackmail. It's a crime. It's his word against mine, I replied bitterly. And he has money and lawyers. Not necessarily, Marcus murmurs, more to himself than to me. What did you say? Nothing. Just leave it to me. Marcus, no. I don't want you involved in this. He turns to look at me, and there's something in his expression that I can't decipher. Sarah, trust me. Please. 2 hours later, my phone rings again. This time it's Gerald, but his voice is completely different, nervous, almost servile. Ms. Chen? There was a misunderstanding this morning. About the apartment. Misunderstanding. I repeat, looking at Marcus, who is pretending to read a book but is clearly paying attention to every word. Yes, well, after talking to some colleagues, I realized I might have been hasty. The apartment is still yours if you want it. Same rent as before. And about your things, obviously, you can pick them up whenever it's convenient. I'm so shocked that I can hardly respond. What changed? I recognize a good tenant when I see one. You always paid on time before your son's medical emergency. These things happen. After I hang up, I stare at Marcus for a long moment. You did something. It's not a question. I don't know what you're talking about, he replies, but there's a small smile playing on his lips. Marcus. Sarah, he interrupts, standing up and walking toward me. Sometimes, people just realize they were wrong. He's so close now that I can feel the warmth of his body, the subtle scent of his cologne. My heart races, but this time it's not out of fear, it's something much more dangerous. Who are you really? I whisper. Instead of answering, Marcus raises his hand and gently brushes a strand of my hair from my face. His fingers linger on my cheek, and I can see the conflict in his eyes. Someone who fell in love with you, he says simply. The words hang in the air between us. My heart stops for a moment before it starts racing twice as fast. Marcus. I know it's complicated, he continues, his voice husky. I know there are things you don't understand about me. But Sarah, what I feel for you, there's nothing complicated about it. It's simple and real and more intense than anything I've ever felt. His hands are now framing my face, and I can see every detail of his dark eyes. There's sincerity there, but also secrets. So many secrets. You can't love me, I whisper. You don't even know me properly. I know your favorite songs because you hum them while making coffee. I know the way your eyes shine when Noah laughs. I know you sleep on the left side of the bed and always check if he's breathing before you sleep. I know you cry in the shower when you think no one is listening and that you're the strongest person I've ever met. His words hit me like waves, each one true, each one showing me that he's really been paying attention. That in these weeks, he's seen me in a way no one ever has. But there are things about you I don't know, I say, even as my body leans toward his. There are, he admits. And I promise I'll tell you everything. Just, not yet. It's not the right time. When will it be? Soon, he promises, and then, slowly, gives me time to pull away if I want. He tilts his head and kisses me. It's a soft kiss, questioning at first, but when I respond by pressing myself closer to him, it becomes deeper. I can feel weeks of tension and repressed attraction in this kiss, and when we finally pull apart, we're both breathless. Sarah, he whispers against my lips. I know, I answer because I do know. I know I'm falling for a man who may be lying about everything. I know this could end in heartbreak. But I also know that it's been a long time since I've felt so alive, so seen, so cared for. From the other room, we hear Noah waking up from his nap, and reality returns. Marcus reluctantly pulls away, but not before touching my hand one last time. Shall we go get your things? He offers. As we walk through the streets of Calgary an hour later, Noah between us holding our hands, I feel like we're in a temporary bubble of happiness. Marcus carries the heavy boxes without complaining, plays with Noah, and treats me like I'm precious. But in the back of my mind, an insistent voice keeps asking, what kind of man can change a greedy landlord's mind with just a few hours of conversation? And more importantly, when I find out the answer, will I still want to stay? For now, I choose not to think about it. For now, I choose to live in this perfect moment where I am loved, and my son is safe and happy. But I know the truth is coming. And I'm afraid that when it comes, our little makeshift family might not survive the impact. The moment of truth arrives on a cold Saturday morning when we are at Prince's Island Park with Noah, enjoying the first strong sun of spring. Marcus is pushing Noah on the swing while I watch, my heart warmed by the sight of them both laughing together. It's then that I see the journalists approaching. At first, I think it's a coincidence until I hear one of them say aloud, Mayor Thompson. Mayor Thompson, can you comment on Councillor Martinez's allegations? My blood freezes. I turn to where they are looking and see Marcus tensing up completely. Noah is still laughing on the swing, unaware of the tension that has suddenly filled the air. Mayor Thompson, the journalist repeats, now closer. People deserve to know your position on the housing budget. Marcus, no, Mayor Thompson, raises a hand, clearly trying to avoid the conversation. But it's too late. They've seen us together. The cameras are already on. Sorry, Marcus says in a voice I recognize, but with an authority I've never heard before. This is neither the time nor the place for interviews. I'm having a private moment with. He pauses, looks at me, and I see panic in his eyes. How does he explain who we are? How does he explain that the mayor of Calgary is in the park with an unknown nurse and a child? With friends, he finishes weakly. But the journalists aren't stupid. They see the intimacy between us, the way Noah immediately stretches his arms toward Marcus when he hears unfamiliar voices. Mayor Thompson, is this your family? A reporter asks, pointing the camera directly at me and Noah. No. Marcus is clearly struggling, and I can see the exact moment he realizes there's no way out of this situation without consequences. But I'm not going to stand here and let them use us as some sort of political scandal. I take Noah off the swing, ignoring his protests, and begin walking quickly toward the park's exit. Sarah, wait. Marcus, Mayor Thompson, calls after me, but I don't turn around. Sarah! He catches up to me before I reach the parking lot, gently but firmly holding my arm. Please let me explain. Explain. I turn to face him, Noah heavy in my arms, tears of anger and humiliation burning my eyes. Explain that you're the mayor of Calgary? Explain that you lied about literally everything. Not everything, he says desperately. Never about my feelings for you. Your feelings. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. You manipulated me. All this time you were, what? Having fun? Watching how the poor little nurse would react to the powerful mayor. No. The intensity in his voice stops me. Sarah, it was never about that. Never. Then explain, I say, putting Noah down but holding his hand firmly. Explain how the mayor of a city ends up pretending to be a jobless waiter. Marcus runs his hands through his hair, looking around to make sure the journalists didn't follow us. When he speaks, his voice is full of a vulnerability I recognize from the night we met. Because I'm tired, Sarah. Tired of never knowing if people like me or my position. Tired of women wanting to date the mayor, not Marcus. Tired of feeling like a political commodity instead of a person. He kneels to be at Noah's level, who is looking between us with a worried expression. That night in the snowstorm, Marcus continues, I was walking home after a horrible meeting about budget cuts. I was feeling completely lost about how to help people like you, how to make a real difference. And then I saw you. His eyes meet mine. And for the first time in years, someone looked at me and saw only a man who wanted to help. Not the mayor, not a political opportunity. Just Marcus. So you lied. I insist, even as my anger begins to waver. I lied about who I was professionally, he admits. But Sarah, everything else was real. The way I felt when Noah slept in my arms that first night. How my heart raced every time you smiled. How I came to love the sound of your voice humming in the morning. Noah, apparently tired of the tension, lets go of my hand and walks toward Marcus. To my shock and horror, my son hugs Marcus' legs and says, "Daddy sad?" My heart breaks into 1,000 pieces. Noah has never called anyone daddy. But somewhere in the last few weeks, that's how he started seeing Marcus. "Oh, my love," I whisper, kneeling beside them. He's not. But I stop. Because looking at them, I realize that Marcus is more of a father to Noah than his biological father ever was or will be. "Sarah," Marcus says quietly, "I know I broke your trust. I know I have no right to ask this, but give me a chance to prove my feelings are real." "How?" I ask, my voice breaking. "How do you prove something like that when our whole relationship has been based on a lie?" "It wasn't based on a lie," he insists, standing slowly with Noah still holding onto his legs. "It was based on you taking care of me when you thought I had nothing to offer in return. It was based on me falling in love with a woman who works 2 jobs and still finds the energy to make Noah smile every day." Tears begin to fall down my face. "But you could have anyone, Marcus. Rich women, influential women, who would never need you to sleep on the floor or eat instant noodles for dinner." "I don't want anyone," he interrupts, taking a step closer. "I want the woman who offered me half of her last cookie when she thought I was out of money for food. I want the woman who let me take care of her most precious son without even knowing my real last name. I want the woman who fell in love with Marcus, not Mayor Thompson." Noah chooses this moment to proclaim loudly, "I love Daddy Marcus." And with those 4 innocent words from a 2-year-old, all my defenses crumble. "This is going to be complicated," I whisper through the tears. "I know," Marcus replies, gently touching my face. "People will judge. They'll say I'm a gold digger." "Let them talk," he says firmly. "I know the truth. You know the truth. And if we can't handle this? And if your career—" "Sarah," Marcus interrupts, now holding my face with both hands. "In the last few weeks, you and Noah have given me something my career never could. You've given me a home. A family. Real love." He pauses, his eyes intense and sincere. "I'd give up the mayoralty before I gave up on you." "No," I say immediately. "I don't want you to do that. The city needs you. Then we stay together and face whatever comes," he says simply. "Like a family." I look at Noah, who is now playing with the buttons on Marcus' coat, completely comfortable and happy. I look at Marcus, seeing for the first time not just the man I fell in love with, but also the leader he truly is. "It's going to be hard," I finally say. "The best things usually are," he smiles, that smile that made me fall for him from the very first day. And when he kisses me right there in the park's parking lot, with Noah between us laughing and trying to hug our legs at the same time, I think maybe the most unlikely story can also be the truest. 3 months later, when the Calgary Herald publishes a front-page article titled, "How the Mayor Found True Love," I learn that sometimes fairy tales really do happen. They just don't come the way we expect. They come in a snowstorm, disguised as a stranger who needs a place to stay. And if we're lucky, very lucky, they come to stay. 6 months later, Marcus proposed to me in the same park where our truth was revealed. Noah was with us, of course, wearing a little tuxedo that Marcus insisted on buying. When I said yes, my 2-year-old son clapped and shouted at Daddy Marcus, for all of Calgary to hear. Our story wasn't perfect. We faced criticism, intrusive journalists, and constant questions about our motivations. But every night, when Marcus comes home after a long day solving the city's problems, and Noah runs into his arms shouting Daddy, I remember that true love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other, every day, even when the circumstances are complicated. Especially when they are complicated. Because sometimes, the person you least expect is exactly who you need the most. And sometimes, the best men are those willing to sleep on the floor just to make sure you and your child are safe and warm. Marcus never slept on the floor again. But I know that if he had to, he would do it without hesitation. And that's why I love him.